For 6 long weeks, the Black Stallion had ruled Lonear Ranch with fear. He tore down fences in the night, scattered cattle at dawn, and sent 3 grown wranglers to the hospital with broken bones and deep scars. No man could get within 50 feet of him without being charged. Ranch owner Harrison Mitchell had lived his whole life around horses, but this animal was different. This one did not run. This one hunted. That Tuesday afternoon, the desert sun burned low and hard over the Arizona land when a dusty car pulled into the ranch yard. Harrison stood on his porch, tired and worn, expecting nothing more than another quiet disappointment. Instead, a small boy stepped out of the car, no more than 10 years old, thin, calm, and strangely steady on his feet. His name was Luke Chapman, and he said something that made every man on the ranch fall silent. He said he could calm the horse. From the porch, Harrison watched Luke walk toward the fence where his best quarter horses pressed together in fear. Beyond them, in the far pasture, the Black Stallion paced alone. His coat was black as midnight, shining in the heat, his muscles moving like a wild cat trapped in open land. Every step he took carried anger and warning. "Son," Harrison called out, gripping the porch rail, "you need to stay away from that fence. That horse is dangerous." Luke turned around slowly. His eyes were dark and serious, far older than a child's eyes should be. "He's not dangerous," Luke said. "He's protecting something." Those words hit Harrison like cold wind, protecting what was something he had not considered. The boy spoke like someone who understood fear, not from stories, but from life. Luke had arrived that morning with Mrs. Lacey, an elderly woman hired to keep the house. She said the boy was an orphan, and that he had been through too much for his age. Harrison believed her the moment he looked at Luke. There was a quiet strength in the boy, the kind that came from surviving loss. As Luke stepped closer to the fence, the ranch hands shouted for him to stop. Harrison started toward him, fear pounding in his chest. But something strange happened. The Black Stallion stopped pacing, his ears lifted, his body did not tense. Instead of charging, the horse stepped forward. The desert seemed to hold its breath. Luke stopped just short of the fence and spoke softly, his voice low and steady. He did not raise his hands, he did not challenge the horse. He spoke like he was talking to a friend. Harrison watched in disbelief as the stallion came closer, his rage replaced by watchful calm. Behind Harrison, Mrs. Lacey stood quietly. When asked about Luke's past, her voice trembled. Luke's parents had died in a car accident the year before. His father had worked with wild horses. Northern Nevada, she said. Mustangs. The words struck Harrison deep. A memory he had buried for 15 years rose to the surface. A young man named David Chapman. A Mustang trainer. A fight. A mistake that had cost Harrison his daughter. That night, Harrison sat alone on the porch while the desert cooled. The image of Luke standing calm before the wild stallion would not leave his mind. The boy moved like someone born around horses, like someone taught by a master. The next morning, shouting woke Harrison before sunrise. He rushed outside and saw Luke already at the fence. The Black Stallion stood inches away, calm and still, like he belonged there. The men stared in shock. No rope. No force. Only trust. Harrison approached carefully and asked Luke a question that had been burning inside him. "Did your father ever work at a ranch called Lonear?" Luke's eyes widened. He nodded. "He told me stories about this place," he said. "About the horses. And about a girl named Claire." Harrison felt the ground shift beneath him. Before he could ask more, the stallion suddenly turned and moved toward the hills, stopping to look back. Luke's face changed. "He wants us to follow," the boy said quietly. "Something's wrong." Harrison looked at the wild horse, then at the child who somehow understood him. Against all reason, he nodded. And without knowing it yet, Harrison took his first step toward a truth that would change his life forever. Harrison did not know why he trusted the boy, but he did. He called for his ATV and told the men to stay back. Luke climbed on without fear, his eyes fixed on the black stallion moving ahead of them across the dry land. The horse walked with purpose, not running, not testing them, but guiding them. Every few minutes he stopped and looked back, waiting. They rode toward the northern hills where the land broke into sharp rock and narrow paths. Harrison had avoided that area for years. Too dangerous, too easy to get lost. Yet the stallion moved through it like he had been born there. As they traveled, Harrison's mind kept returning to the name Luke had spoken, Claire, his daughter. The name still carried weight, even after 15 years of silence. His heart pounded as he finally asked the question he feared most. "Luke," Harrison said, keeping his voice steady, "your father, was his name David Chapman?" Luke nodded. "Yes, sir." "You knew him?" Harrison swallowed hard. "I did." Luke's voice softened. "Dad said Lonear Ranch was where everything changed for him. He said he met someone here who understood him." The words cut deep. Harrison's hands tightened on the handlebars. Memories rushed back, David's quiet ways, his skill with wild horses, the day Harrison lost his temper and drove him away, and the night his daughter ran after him, never to return. The black stallion suddenly stopped near a narrow canyon entrance. He pawed the ground, restless now, his ears flicking back and forth. Luke climbed off the ATV and stepped close. The horse allowed it, lowering his head as if asking for help. "He's worried," Luke said. "He's protecting his family." Harrison followed Luke on foot as they moved into the canyon. The walls closed in, blocking the sun. The air cooled, and the sound of water echoed faintly ahead. When they turned a corner, the land opened into a hidden valley so green it felt unreal. Grass grew thick and tall. A clear spring ran through the center. Cottonwood trees stood like guards around the edges. Harrison's breath caught. This place had been kept secret for a reason. Near the trees stood a small cabin, simple, strong, built with care. Luke smiled sadly. "Mom and Dad built this." Harrison felt his knees weaken. He walked closer, touching the wood like it might disappear. Around the back, 3 wooden crosses stood beneath the trees. 2 were marked, David Chapman, Claire Mitchell Chapman. Harrison dropped to the ground. His daughter was here. She had lived. She had loved. She had died without him ever knowing. Luke sat beside him, quiet and steady. "They wanted to be buried here," he said. "Dad said it was the place where they were happiest." Harrison covered his face. Years of regret crashing down all at once. He had searched for his daughter across states and cities, never thinking she might be right here, hidden but close. "The third grave?" Harrison asked quietly. Luke looked at it. "Dad said it was for the future, for family." The black stallion moved toward the stream, and suddenly other horses appeared, mares, foals. A small wild herd. They gathered around the stallion, calm now, safe. "He led them here," Luke explained, "when people started chasing them. He brought them somewhere no one else would look." Harrison finally understood. The stallion had not been attacking the ranch. He had been guarding water, guarding life. "They need help," Luke said. "The spring is drying. They need access to your land." Harrison looked at the horses, at the boy, at the graves of the 2 people he had failed. His decision came without doubt. "This ranch will protect them," he said. "No one will take them." Luke smiled, relief filling his face. The stallion lifted his head and let out a strong call. The herd answered. On the ride back, Luke finally asked the question he had been holding. "Why did my mom leave?" Harrison did not lie. "Because I was afraid, and fear made me cruel." Luke thought for a moment. Dad said fear makes people forget love. Harrison nodded. "Your father was right." When they reached the ranch, the sun was low. Luke looked up at him. "Grandpa," he said, trying the word for the first time. Harrison's chest tightened. "Yes, Luke." "Can I stay here?" Harrison placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You're already home." And as the black stallion watched from the hills, a broken family began to heal, guided by a horse no man could touch but a child could understand. The ranch changed quietly after that day, like the land itself had been waiting for permission to breathe again. Harrison kept his word. He opened the northern pastures and rerouted water lines so the wild herd could drink without fear. No helicopters were allowed near Lonear Ranch again. When officials came asking questions, Harrison stood firm. This land was private, and the horses were under his protection. Luke became the bridge between two worlds. Each morning before the sun rose, he walked the fence line with the black stallion beside him. The horse no longer paced like a prisoner. He moved with calm authority, his herd following at a distance. Luke named him Shadow, because he appeared when least expected and vanished when danger came. The ranch hands watched in quiet respect. Men who had broken colts and ridden broncs their whole lives admitted they had never seen anything like it. Luke never forced a horse. He waited, he listened, he let trust grow slow and strong. Mrs. Lacey stayed on at the ranch, her worry easing now that Luke had family again. She watched Harrison with gentle eyes as he learned how to be a grandfather. He walked slower. He listened more. Each evening he and Luke rode out together to the hidden valley, carrying fresh water and apples. Luke always stopped at the graves. "I tell them about my day," Luke said once, "so they know I'm okay." Harrison stood beside him, his hat pressed to his chest. He talked to his daughter in quiet words, apologizing for things that could never be undone, thankful for the boy she had given him. Over time, the weight in his chest began to lift. Shadow remained wild, but he allowed Luke close. Sometimes the boy rested his forehead against the horse's neck, and Shadow stood still, breathing slow and deep. Harrison understood then. The horse was not broken. He was healed. Months passed. The wild herd settled into a steady life. Foals were born in the spring, strong and healthy. Shadow watched over them from the ridge, always alert, always ready. Luke helped document their movements, just like his father once had. Harrison built a small study in the ranch house where Luke kept notes and drawings. One afternoon, a group of trainers arrived, curious about the boy who could calm a horse no man could touch. Harrison refused any show or profit. This was not a trick. This was respect. Luke spoke to the visitors anyway, his voice clear and calm. "Wild horses are not angry," he said. "They are afraid. If you listen, they will tell you what they need." The men left quieter than they arrived. On the anniversary of Claire and David's passing, the ranch gathered in the hidden valley. The wind moved softly through the trees. Luke placed purple flowers on both graves. Shadow stood nearby, watching. "I think they're proud," Luke said. Harrison nodded. "I know they are." That night, as the stars filled the sky, Luke asked a question he had been holding. "Do you think Shadow found me on purpose?" Harrison looked at the horse standing tall against the moonlight. "I think some things find us when we are ready," he said. Luke smiled. Years later, people would talk about Lonear Ranch as a place where wild horses lived free and families healed. They would talk about a black stallion who bowed to no man and a boy who never raised his voice. They would say the horse chose him. But Harrison knew the truth. A broken man, a lost child, and a wild horse had all been searching for the same thing, a place to belong. And together they found it.